The Minnesota Timberwolves pulled off an absolute heist, as over the weekend, Shams Charania revealed multiple signings for this T-Wolves team, which frankly sets this team up perfectly for the future. Everyone thought that Naz Reid across the NBA national media that he would be on his way out, the T-Wolves can't pay him. That's everything that we were hearing out there from the national media for basically the last year now at this point, ever since the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, and that was a money move and all that stuff. But Tim Connelly continues to pull off a masterclass in terms of roster building, and even though that Karl-Anthony Towns trade hurt the soul, now in hindsight, after this move was made, after this deal is done, this is looking like just absolute perfection in terms of cap management in the modern NBA, where things are tough to keep a high caliber roster together. So we're going to break down these moves, but more importantly, how this sets up the T-Wolves entering free agency and why this is just a masterclass despite what everyone in the national media was thinking about this T-Wolves team. So lots of stuff to dive into, but folks, first episode of Timberwolves Digest, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because free agency is starting tonight, and even though the Wolves made some big splashes over the weekend, there are lots of things coming, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss a single thing with this Minnesota Timberwolves team. But let's dive into what's already been done for this T-Wolves squad, as news came out over the weekend first that the Minnesota Timberwolves' Naz Reid intends to sign a 5-year, $125 million contract to stay with the franchise, including a player option, sources tell ESPN. Critical agreement between the Wolves and Reid's agents of Excel Sports. So this is a mass. So this is the first one we're going to take a look at because Naz Reid, of course, I've heard some people say, oh, he's a backup center. This is too much money. The market for Naz Reid, especially if he was a free agent last summer, because the deals seem to have shifted over the course of this offseason. That's why, Connelly kind of pushing it to this season and stuff. Getting a deal done now is so perfect for this team. But, on average, an average annual value of $25 million annually with it being backloaded, so it's affecting your cap less so at this point. That is a steal for Naz Reid. There's no other real word to describe it because you look at Naz Reid's stats in the modern NBA, a big that averages 14 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and shoots 38% from the three-point line, 39% on corner threes, and is only 25 years old, 6'9", can play the power forward center positions, is just flexible in all areas out there on the court. Like, people underestimate how young Naz Reid is, how much upside, how much development can come into form, and to have him locked in, essentially during the prime of his career, at that sort of average annual value, that is an absolute steal. It's backloaded, so as the cap ends up going up out there in the future with these new Amazon deals, TV deals, whatever we're going to call it, streaming deals for the NBA, this is just the absolute perfect move, which honestly is the more important one because we see so many these big man signings end up being in the 30s plus, and other free agents that are out there on the market. Daniel Gafford ended up getting a 2-year, $20 million, but he's not the caliber player, doesn't shoot the 3-ball nearly as well as Naz Reid, is mobile or anything like that. You hear that Jakob Poeltl out there on the Toronto Raptors is going to be in that $30+ million per year AAV. Like, this is just an absolute masterclass, bringing him back on this deal for this long. So, I know his value is going to go up as these years continue, but the way that the T-Wolves are kind of constructed right now, the cap's going to be rising and stuff. You are going to be paying a very, very reasonable contract for Naz Reid moving forward in the future, right? Like, you see it here in terms of the actual specifics of the deal, right? 21 this season, 23 the year after, 25 in the middle, 26 and 28, like, if he is still, which he should be, like, he's going to be in the prime of his career, in 2029, 2020, 30 season, the cap is going to be way, way higher. So $28 million is going to look like just chump change for a player the caliber of Naz Reid. So big W there for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But one of the big things, I think there was a lot of push, especially at the end of the season, like, Naz Reid's coming back. Make that happen. Make that go down. But the question was Julius Randle. Of course, you trade for him in last season. He had a phenomenal regular season, especially the back half of the season for the T-Wolves this year. Some people are sour grapes to the ending of his playoff run, but those first two series, Julius Randle was really showing out for the T-Wolves. There were some question marks about how much money he was going to get paid because there was some discourse initially when that trade happened to acquire Julius Randle, last summer, that, okay, are we going to be looking at, a 4-year, $180 million contract for Julius Randle, which would be pricey. And, it was around the money. Like, Karl-Anthony Towns is making significant bread, and it hurt everyone to lose Karl-Anthony Towns. But Julius Randle's a very high-caliber player, but it's like, okay, but how much are you going to have to pay him in the offseason? Well, the deal that Julius Randle just signed, I don't care if you're the biggest Julius Randle detractor, you don't like him, you want him off the team, whatever the heck it is. The money that he just signed is another absolute masterclass. 3-time NBA All-Star Julius Randle intends to sign a new 3-year deal worth $100 million to stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sources tell ESPN the deal includes a player option for the 27-28 season. So you get at roughly $33 million per year, Julius Randle coming back, a guy that, over the course of the season, averaged 19 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Those numbers only went up in the back half of the year, and shoots 34% on the three-point line. Doesn't take many corner threes, so we're not worried about that too much. But basically, a guy that can be that, be behind Anthony Edwards, a B-level scorer, your number 2 option out there on the offensive end. He can take the load off offensively, especially over the course of the regular season. Julius Randle is a very, very nice piece to have at that money. Like, it's at that price point. Everyone's like, okay, what do you have to pay Julius Randle? That's where the concerns really come into play. But now it's $33 million. And then to make it's $30 million this season. So it's there. And then it peaks at $33 million. And then it goes down to $30 million back again in the 27-28 season. So this is just elite cap management by Connelly to come out there and make sure this team is going to duck the second apron, because no one wants to see this T-Wolves team come out and take a step back. Multiple times out there in the conference finals, you don't want to downgrade when you have Anthony Edwards on the roster. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So making sure you keep the talent out there on this team, very tradable contracts if any opportunities arise. Again, the Kevin Durant stuff was being yapped about a ton leading into the offseason, but happy you dodged that bullet. You bring these guys back on very reasonable deals. Like, this is a very, very much just swift cap management by the Timberwolves, so you can duck that second apron but still have a ton of talent on this team, because you don't want to get second aproned, as of course it leads to a lot of restrictions in terms of movement, in terms of contracts, in terms of draft picks getting removed out there at that point. So you stay under the second apron, and then you also keep your guys. So that's exactly what the hope is, the course of the offseason. Of course, more moves are going to happen. More moves are going to be made for the Timberwolves in the coming days. So we're going to dive into all of that. But the one thing that does come of this, which makes it essentially official, is that NAW will be on his way out. You're not going to be able to sign him for the contract that he's going to earn out there on the open market, and that will be a significant blow. 9.4 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 38% from the three-point line, 47% on corner threes at 26 years old. It's tough. It's tough to part ways with NAW. I know there's been some people, I guess that's the one argument that Julius Randle deal didn't make sense, because you lose NAW and lose some extra flexibility. But I think if out of those 3, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, NAW, if you take a look at those guys in a vacuum, NAW is the guy that's going to be the odd man out in that situation. But the T-Wolves, they've been able to find some gems, some role players, some guys that play defense out there on that end of the floor. So things will be fine. Things will be fine with NAW gone. There's lots of opportunities, lots of options out there in free agency, and we'll see how things shake out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you agree this is a masterclass entering free agency? But anyways, you guys are the best. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.